Hello, and welcome back to Petrol Magazine. Today, we're throwing shade, tastefully of course, at some of the most overrated sports cars out there. These are the cars that get hyped to the moon online, but when you drive them or look at the spec sheet, you're left wondering what all the noise was about. They might look the part, they might have a fan base louder than their exhaust, but they just don't deliver when it comes to performance, value, or driving feel. Before we dive in, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and drop a comment below. What's a sports car you think is all hype and no horsepower? Let's get into it. Let's start with the fan favorite Toyota 86 and Subaru BRZ. On paper, these cars are a purist's dream. Rear-wheel drive, low center of gravity, manual transmission, and the boxer engine mounted nice and low. But here's the issue. It has just 200 horsepower from a 2.0-liter flat 4, and it needs to be revved to the moon to feel exciting. Peak power doesn't hit until 7,000 RPM, and even then, it's underwhelming. 0 to 60? Around 6.7 to 7.0 seconds. That's slower than a base Accord. And while the handling is sharp, the torque dip in the mid-range makes spirited driving a bit frustrating. They're fun in the corners, sure, but for $18,000 to $25,000 used, there are faster, better rounded options out there. Great chassis, not so great powertrain. That's why it's overrated. Next up, the Nissan 370Z. Launched in 2009, this car came out swinging with 332 horsepower, a 6-speed manual, and classic Z car heritage. But here's the thing, it barely changed for over a decade. The infotainment system feels like it's from a GameCube, the ride is harsh, and the interior is full of hard plastics. And despite all the noise, it's not that fast anymore. Most trims do 0 to 60 in the low 5s, which was impressive in 2009. Now, not so much. Also, despite being marketed as a precision sports car, it understeers hard at the limit, and the steering feel just isn't that engaging. Prices for clean examples still hover around $20,000 to $28,000, which is crazy for a car that hasn't really evolved in over a decade. It's the sports car equivalent of that one guy who peaked in high school. The Dodge Challenger is one of the most aggressive-looking cars on the road. Wide stance, retro styling, available racing stripes, it looks like a muscle car should. But under that hood, the base 3.6-liter V6 in the SXT trim makes around 305 horsepower, which sounds good, until you remember it's dragging over 4,100 pounds. 0 to 60, about 6.5 to 6.8 seconds. Not bad, but not nearly as quick as it looks. And because it's a big, heavy coupe, it doesn't handle particularly well either. The ride is comfortable, but the steering is vague, and cornering feels more like negotiation than confidence. And let's not ignore resale value. The V6 versions don't hold it nearly as well as their HEMI-powered siblings. Unless you really want the looks without the power, you're better off saving for a Challenger RT or Scat Pack. Here come the pitchforks. The ND Miata is a darling of the enthusiast world, and yeah, it handles like a dream. We'll give it that. Near-perfect 50-50 weight distribution, curb weight under 2,400 pounds, and a slick 6-speed manual. But let's talk about what it doesn't have. Power. Until the 2019 refresh, the ND Miata made just 155 horsepower. Even after the update, it's only 181 horsepower. 0 to 60. Around 6.0 to 6.5 seconds. And while that might feel zippy in a tiny car, it's just not enough to match its driver's car hype, especially when it costs $25,000 to $30,000 used, and more if new. Also, the cabin is cramped, the road noise is intense, and if you're over 6 feet tall, good luck getting in and out without pulling a hamstring. Miata is always the answer? Maybe not anymore. Finally, let's talk about the BMW Z4, specifically the E89 generation. It looks gorgeous. Long hood, wide hips, retractable hardtop, and that classic BMW Roadster style. But dig a little deeper, and it starts to unravel. Most models came with either a 2.0-liter Turbo 4 or the 3.0-liter Turbo 6, which is quick, but the car is heavy, weighing nearly 3,500 pounds. That makes it more of a boulevard cruiser than a proper sports car. Also, steering feel is numb, handling is distant, and reliability, well, it's a BMW from the 2010s, so yeah, have your mechanic on speed dial. Even basic maintenance is pricey, and used models still sell for $18,000 to $25,000. For that money, you can get a Cayman, a Boxster, or even a well-kept S2000, all of which are far more engaging to drive. The Z4 looks like a performance machine, but underneath it's a luxury convertible with trust issues. And that wraps up our list of the most overrated sports cars that just aren't worth the hype, or the price tag. They may have the looks, the reputation, or even a big following, but when it comes down to the driving experience, performance, and value, they fall short. Which one do you agree with? Which one do you think we're totally wrong about? Let the arguments begin in the comments. And if you like your car content served with a side of brutal honesty, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more hot takes, car myths, and brutally honest reviews, right here on Petrol Magazine. Thanks for watching, and remember, being popular doesn't always mean being good.